Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the All Four Wheels podcast with Charlie, my co-host, and myself, Joel, from the It's Joel YouTube channel. And, well, in the recent weeks, it's been super busy for me. I've been doing lots of events, actually. I was at an Alpine event in Bristol at the Brabazon hangar, which is where they built Concorde. I was like, I was really intrigued by that. Actually,
everyone was looking at the Alpines and you're like, hold on, what's this?
I was when the invite came through, I was more interested in going because of the Concorde thing. But anyway, that was a launch for a very special electric model that they're not producing. Very strange. Then I went to SMMT, which was my first time ever at SMMT, and that's an interesting one because it's basically this day where a bunch of manufacturers, likes of Porsche, Maserati, Mercedes, MG, BMW, lots and lots of manufacturers, all bring like their range of press cars,
right?
Pretty much whatever they're selling, and you get a little media pass thing. You sign on, and you can basically drive whatever you want,
awesome.
unless it's Mercedes, and then for whatever reason they've got an age of 30 restriction, which is very strange, especially because Maserati had the MC20 there, which is that new supercar, and no age restriction for that.
Right, okay.
A bit strange.
Yeah.
And then the main talking point of today, Charlie, I want to talk to you about where I was. Well, it was last weekend now. I was in Germany.
Yes.
At the Nurburgring, one of our favourite places, but somewhere I try and go as much as possible. I was invited by Audi to go along for the N24, which is the 24 hours of Nurburgring. And I don't think I didn't fully realise what it was until we did our last podcast. And you were filling me in a lot of...
I'd only just watched like 10 minutes of the year before, hadn't I? And I was just kind of saying, it's going to be cool. And I think from what the inklings I've heard since you've been back a little bit, it was awesome.
It was. I think it took me getting home to realise just quite how incredible it was. But a bit of background for those of you that don't know what the N24 is. Well, everyone's heard of 24 Hours of Le Mans, I suppose, haven't they? Essentially, it's the same thing, but at the Nurburgring.
And so, the Nordschleife.
Exactly. So not only is it on the Nordschleife, which is the crazy 13-mile, basically toll road that goes through the forest, it's also the GP circuit, which is another 3 miles or something? I'm not sure, actually. But so that's where we were based, is on this sort of main pit straight of the GP circuit, which was really awesome. Yeah, it had like a hospitality, I think it was Total Energy hospitality suite, and there was a balcony, and we could literally stand above the pit lane watching all. It was amazing.
Driver swaps and everything.
But essentially what it means is it's this 16-mile, 24-hour race.
It's just for me, I know they swap drivers every few hours, but it's... I just think it's quite amazing, the endurance part of it. I know that's the whole point. It's called an endurance race, but in the middle of the night, they swap every few hours, so they can't have that much sleep between their drives, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, it's really full
so
on.
But you're driving, full chat through the night with slower cars on the track as well.
Yes,
you've got to be really on it to not crash. And I mean, I caught a bit of it on YouTube that weekend. I was quite busy, but I caught a bit of it on it. I think I was in bed at like 1 a.m. I was like, I didn't want to switch it off, because for me the whole night bit, it was so fascinating, because again they're just coming up on the slow cars, and it's
absolutely crazy. And the first thing that caught my eye when we saw the racing, I'll sort of give a full overview in a minute, but as you're mentioning it, I didn't realise that they like flashed.
No, I never knew.
I just thought, oh gosh, he's aggressive. But then they all do it. So basically, because
that's what someone normally does to you on the M25.
I know. I was like, that's very aggressive, because that would be someone really angry at you on the British motorway. But because like you say, there's faster category cars, and
I guess maybe in person, I don't know. I haven't really asked you yet, but was it really noticeable? Like, was it quite weird seeing? Almost exciting as well when you're sat there and you see like I don't know, there was a few Golf R's and stuff in there, wasn't there? And then you see a GT3 coming up and you're like, oh, this could get interesting.
Yeah, what was the really slow thing? It was a date.
It didn't make it.
Not a Sandero. It was
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, but you could definitely notice it. But what they do is they sort of have a button in their car which they press, and then the lights flash, to sort of just alert the slower moving vehicle that they're coming through. But the crazy thing is that at at night, there's so much of it going on that I just don't understand how they weren't completely.
The mind was, I see what you mean, like overwhelmed.
Bewildered, by
just lights and people having a party on the side of the track as well,
I know.
Fireworks.
So, so in short, it was an incredible experience. But
I'd love to try and go next year.
I know. I mean,
I've kind of got the call a bit late, to be fair, this year. It was only, a month or two.
I probably only got invited a few weeks before it actually happened. But yeah, the way it worked is that Audi UK invited me. They said they would supply me with a car, basically to drive over to Germany. Alongside a bunch of other YouTubers and journalists. There was some interesting people there, actually. I'll tell you about that in a second. And so the car turned out to be an RSQ8. It got delivered to me on the Friday. Or was it the Thursday? I think it got delivered to me on Thursday. Then Friday at 3 or 4 a.m, I headed down to the Eurotunnel, where Audi had got us a Flexi Plus ticket, which is nice. Actually, it means that you can get on any train you want and use like a lounge and get.
You weren't stressed about being late or anything, or
not really. Although I'm still, to be fair, I was still trying to get a certain train, but I've never had that before because actually I've always paid for it myself until this point. But anyway, so and then met up with some of the guys there that happened to be on the same crossing as me. There's a girl called Katie who works at Top Gear. She was in an RSQ3, and Johnny and Anastasia, who are actually Audi UK press officers. They were in the S8, which I've had before, which is a fantastic car. And then it was all driving over to the Nurburgring. Checked into a hotel about half an hour away, and then we were there on so Friday was qualifying day, am I not mistaken? Yes. And then Saturday at 4 p.m. the race started. And obviously ended then at Sunday at 4. So it was all literally, it all kicked off by the time we even got there, and it was so busy. You had to get our media accreditation. We got given these, which I wanted to show you because I just think it's so cool because it's got Nurburgring 24.
To keep, isn't it?
I'm definitely going to keep that. But this media vest
got you in anywhere.
We could literally go anywhere we wanted. It was amazing.
You feel like at the F1 it only gets you so far, but I feel like from what I a few pictures and stories of yours on Instagram, I was like, you could literally just go, hi, I'm media.
Because what I didn't realise from visiting the Nurburgring before is that you can actually more or less walk around the whole track. I don't know. When we go back soon, we'll have to look and see if it's all closed off now or whatever. But you can literally walk around the whole thing.
Right.
But basically, wherever there was fences, we could
just go with it.
We could cross them and go through. And I'll talk about it a bit more in a minute. But some of the access we got was incredible.
Did you get your? I was always curious. I don't know why I was thinking logistics and weird things. I was thinking. So obviously it would be so busy in all the car parks because you were not staying. You were staying a little bit out of from where you had to drive to the ring. You wouldn't be able to walk, would you? Did you have any like car parks? Because events like that, the public parking would be chaos by the time you. If you just wanted to pop back to the hotel for a bit, and then come back, did you have a area that you could kind of go to, like parking wise? Or?
We did, along with that media accreditation.
Yeah, that's
we had
like
a big thing that said A5, which was this car park opposite the entrance, which we had access to.
Yeah.
But on the Saturday afternoon when we were moving locations, I had the window down, floored it a little bit, and the thing went flying out the window. But it was okay because I didn't actually intend to go back to that car park. It turns out, but so we had access. Although having said that, I think I drove in at maybe lunchtime on the Saturday, so to get there 2 or 3 hours before the race started, and also the classic race was going on.
Okay,
which I caught a bit of, and there was this Mercedes E-Class Evolution or something that sounded like a Zonda. It was hilarious. I got a clip of it, I think, but so I got there a few hours early, but it did take a while to get into town. Because the hotel was a little bit of a way out, actually. I mean, I've always been used to staying at the Speedies place that you know about.
You've revealed it now.
Yeah, but I won't say any more. And that's literally it's in the middle of it all.
And you can hear it. You can hear it when you wake up in the morning, but you're so far away that there's no other people bothering you.
No,
that
it's
makes
weird.
sense. It's very peaceful until what is it when does the track kind of get started 9 a.m.
Depends what's going on. No, it is that's why I love that place, because it literally feels like you're just.
You feel part
camping.
of it. You feel part of it, but you're also in the field, so you're not. You're
in the middle of nowhere, aren't you? So what else to tell you, really? It was incredible. So obviously drove the RSQ8 down, went and got all the things and walked around with everyone. Got to meet some interesting people. had access to this hospitality, which was sweet, because
But-
obviously in there they had all of the screens and all the timing gear and everything like
so you
that.
could really keep up with it.
And then we got to walk on the grid and in the pit lane, which was
Awesome,
really
yeah.
cool. There will be a video going out on my channel. It might be out already, or it might not be out just yet, but do stay tuned. And actually, I'll put it in the link of this podcast once it is published. But you'll see, got to walk in the pit lane, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, it's just it's a different. If you compare it to F1, I know that's what everyone really cares about. You know, thinks because of Drive to Survive. You know,
it's the
everyone's,
benchmark, isn't it?
Everyone's talking about that it's a completely different style of everything's different. Pit lane, you know.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is that I couldn't believe just like how relaxed it seemed.
Yeah.
So there's probably 10,000 people in this pit lane, but it's not like they just opened the pit lane to pedestrians because there was nothing going on. Like, this was after the classic race, and this is when they were pulling the cars out of the garages,
Probably a stressful period for them.
and putting them onto the grid whilst we're all and there was like one thing where one of the R8s that we were there to support, the R8 LMS car, one of them, they just literally started wheeling it out the garage, and there were people in the way, and they don't stop. Like, if you're in the way,
Yeah.
you get hit. It was so funny.
They're on a mission, mate.
And then the same thing with the grid.
Yeah.
You know, getting to walk on the grid. And I did say in this video that obviously I've always wanted to walk on the grid in F1, but this is pretty cool as well.
Well, I just think it's quite interesting in terms of it's something that I probably wouldn't have considered going to, or yourself. I don't think you would have a year ago, if
No.
not 6 months ago.
I didn't know what it was, to be honest.
Yeah, and well, a lot of people might not. You know, I didn't either. I'll happily admit that. I knew about GT racing, but watching it was exciting. And there is, from just looking on YouTube and the live streams they were doing, there was a big following that obviously do follow things because they knew everything about the car. You know, who was racing in what team and the strategies, etc., which you probably wouldn't, because there is a lot of. I know F1 has strategies where it's like one stop or a two stop, but this has so many different factors, and the driver changing and all of that, and
and they refuel.
Yeah.
And I think there's just, you know, it's such a long period of time that allows just so many. You know, if you think back to the Monaco Grand Prix that happened as we're filming this last weekend, if that was 24 hours, then you wouldn't be saying with certainty that Max Verstappen was going to win it, would you? Because, I mean, you don't know. It could go one of two ways. He could speed off into the distance and be a million laps ahead after 24 hours. But yes, because there's that much more time, it opens up the possibility for so many more things to
But one thing
happen.
I did want to talk about was they try and avoid any form of red flag or stoppage, right? They just put in speed zones where it was a 60 limit. You had to put your pit limiter on the track,
Yes.
drive through that zone where there was an accident so the recovery team could get out, you know, fix it. Sometimes those speed zones would be on for 10, 20 minutes, you know, however long it took. Whereas, could you bring that into other motorsport? I don't see why not.
Well, they do in F1. They do virtual safety car, don't they?
Is that
Which
the
is
same kind of concept, I guess?
They're following a delta, so they're following a sort of a time.
Yeah, but the interesting thing was with this was, just from watching a little bit, was it was happening towards the end of the 24 hours. I think it was like a 35-40 second gap between the first place Ferrari and the second place BMW. And the BMW, there was halfway around the track, they were probably both near the start of the lap, there was an incident, and the commentators said this could get interesting if the safety zone is in place for when the Ferrari goes through, but it's cleared by the time, because they're at different stages. Do you see what I mean?
Make that time up.
Yeah, exactly. So that almost creates a bit of excitement that if you get caught in the wrong safety zone, let's say a car temporarily breaks down and then actually gets it started again, it's moving and the safety zone goes, by the time the second place, he's made up all that time.
Because he's not had to slow down.
Exactly.
I do like the whole pit limiter thing, though, because
Yeah.
with the whole virtual safety car thing in F1, they always seem to end up at slightly different distances from each other after it's ended. Whereas with the pit limiter, they're all doing the same speed. Like, there's no
other factor.
There's no give or take.
No.
So I do like that. But as a racing spectacle, it was unbelievable. And I have to give... Right, so there were some interesting people on this trip. There was... Joe Achilles was there. He was a YouTuber that I think you know who he is, and I think lots of you guys will probably know who he is. But he is Mr. Nurburgring as far as I'm concerned, because he showed us all of these places that you saw on my Instagram story and that I've been talking to you about. He sort of showed us all of these places, and actually I was pestering him on the Friday evening, I think it was, saying, no, it was the Saturday. I was pestering him on the Saturday saying, hey, can you take us to that place that I saw on your Instagram story?
Us, but once I'm there, I know how to get
there,
etc.
And he did, and he showed, and it was absolutely incredible. Before then, he took us on a walk from probably 10 p.m. to midnight, all the way to the carousel.
Okay.
Right, so where we parked,
yeah,
and that was a whole nother thing in itself, because I'd lost my parking thing. I had to do the whole put the media jacket on and sort of really, I had to really blag my way in.
You're quite good at that, though, I've noticed.
I think I am quite good at that, because Joe Achilles and a couple of the other guys,
that's why.
I was waiting for them for half an hour in that car park because they weren't getting allowed in. But anyway, we parked in that YouTube corner car park, and then from there it was about a 2-hour walk through the forest, maybe an hour and a half, to get to the carousel.
Oh wow! You feel like it feels closer to YouTube corner, for example. You think, oh, well, it's not that far away. It's only a few,
Yeah, but then what you're forgetting is that it's up and down, and also for the N24, the entire, and I mean the entire side of the track, at least in that section, is filled with people and parties and smoke and fires. Like, there's literally all of these Nurburgring supplied barrels which are just in the middle of the pavement on fire. And it was like walking through, I don't know, it was like watching 50 years of Top on the Pops in an hour, because you would go 100 meters and there would be like German trance coming, playing and people dancing around like that. And then you'd go another 100 meters and it'd be like sort of hippies around the campfire with an acoustic guitar. Then you'd go another 100 meters and it was like death metal. It was really crazy. And then on the left this whole time you've got the cars whizzing past. I've never seen anything like it.
I think people go for a weekend out as well.
But the Germans go absolutely
it's
nuts.
Quite cool, isn't it?
Like, it was, and people build scaffolding. They have like their TVs, like crazy setups, like on the fence itself. And I'm sure they're indulging in all sorts of...
I feel like Germany, as much as it is quite a strict... I feel like it is a little bit stricter than maybe here sometimes, but they do have a very laxed approach when it comes to certain things. Like, safety is important, but then also, like, you watch, like, German football and there's so much... everyone can stand up. You go to a match here and they're like, sit down. Do you know what I mean?
I think they're less health and safety conscious in Germany.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
They're like, they don't really mess around. Like, they when it comes to real health and safety, they're like, and they do take safety very seriously at the Nurburgring, but as a
spectacle.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were all saying
as long as you're behind the fence, you can do what you want, basically.
Yeah, but we were saying the whole time that if that was Silverstone, forget it. Like, there's people having fires next to the track, throwing flares onto the track that they shouldn't. They
saw that. Yeah, it was
they definitely shouldn't be doing that. But that just wouldn't. And
you'd have it all over Sky News if it happened here, and the bomb squad would be called in because someone threw a flare at a moving vehicle on a racetrack.
And the amount of people that must be injured, not only because there's just random fires in genuinely in the middle of the pavement, but like it's pitch black. There's tree stumps sticking out everywhere. The ground is all uneven. It's not like a smooth tarmac pavement. It's absolutely wild. But anyway, we went to the carousel and got there for about midnight, and it was crazy. I mean, just along the way as well, we kept going into. There was sort of various spots. Marshal stands,
right? And
we'd just say, "Hey, can we?" And they were like, "Yep." And there was one where we literally walked onto the track to then go right onto a bank, and then we were just stood on this bank with these cars, no more than 10 meters away, coming around at 110, 120 miles an hour. It was very surreal.
The exhaust was probably lit up at night as well because it was so hot.
Yeah, the R8 LMS car actually would literally, when it was on or when it was off the power, like rocket style flames would just fire out the twin exhaust it had. It was really, I've never seen anything
I find it quite crazy I always think about aircraft, like an aircraft flies to Buenos Aires, for example, refuels, and then 2 hours later flies all the way back. And I'm like, wow, like, how can the aircraft cope? And it's the same thing with these cars. I was like, they're just driving, being absolutely ragged for 24 hours. Like, how are they coping? But it's mechanical engineering, isn't it?
It's amazing cooling.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Amazing mechanical sympathy from the drivers.
Yes.
They know how to look at it. Because there will be points, I'm sure, they're like,
the brakes are too hot.
Let the brakes cool down, or let the engine cool down. But yeah, I mean, incredible technology. It is amazing to think that, because we went back the next sort of morning to a different spot, and obviously saw the same cars going round after we'd been at home having a few beers and sleeping. We were all just saying, like, that's great, like, that's the same car we were watching.
Yeah, the whole night you've been just having dinner, sleeping. He's just been going round and round.
It's been going round. It was a real experience. I'd love to get you on it, obviously, if we can next year.
They do one at Spa. The thing is, I was looking at the dates, like the Nurburgring's that weekend, and the next weekend's Spa, and the next weekend's Le Mans. So they're all very close together. So we could do certainly one of them. Spa.
Hopefully, Audi invite me/us back for the Nurburgring again next year. I'd like to go again. But yeah, it was a very interesting trip. Another person of note that was on that trip was Matt Watson from CarWow, who I'd not met before. Right. Really, really nice guy, really funny guy actually. And he also brought down. He's recently just been given a long termer from Audi, but it's an Audi R8 Spider, and it's lovely. He basically, I've never heard of this before, but he essentially spec'd it from new.
Oh.
So he spec'd the car up
awesome.
to his
as
own.
If it is his own car.
Yeah, and he had it delivered to him with delivery mileage on it. It's this gorgeous green. It's like my wet dream for an R8. It's green with a tan interior, and I think it's like a brown roof.
Oh, lovely.
Convertible roof.
I do love that. You had a tan interior in one of the many cars you've had
probably
on the press, and it's just, there's something about it. It's quite classy, with also in a sports / supercar, isn't it?
They work well in Porsches. Just any Porsche with a tan interior is gorgeous. But so he had that there, and it was absolutely stunning. I was a little bit jealous. Oh, and it had the gold wheels as well, like I've had on R8s before. Very, very cool, and it was great to meet him actually, and have all sorts of interesting conversations over breakfast. And Joe Achilles, like I say, he's become a good friend actually, and having him there was invaluable, because he wasn't there sort of giving the grand tour to everyone. We probably would have just stayed in the hospitality or like viewed it from the balcony, because I tried going to a few of the spots I knew, but as you can imagine, it was just completely rammed and sort of no chance. So he showed us some spots that... Well,
and you wouldn't have been walking through a forest to it for 2 hours in the middle of the night.
On my own.
Yeah.
Probably not, no. And some other great characters there. I'll give a shout out to James Batchelor as well. He's the funniest guy I think I've ever met on one of these trips. He has some YouTube stuff that he does now as well, but he was absolutely hilarious. And then I saw him again at SMMT actually, along with Joe, which was actually just after N24. But that was a really interesting day as well, because I got to drive...
You've talked about wanting to go to that for a while now.
I know, and I'd just never been on it before. No one had invited me, and then SMMT themselves invited me this year, which apparently is quite bizarre, but they did. And so I went down, and you know what? It was like you won't know most of these people, but it's a bit like a school reunion, but I don't know how to explain it. In this car YouTube world,
right? Even
if we haven't met each other in person, we all know each other.
You all know about each other's channels and stuff.
Like if, for example, at this Alpine event I was at the other day, I never formally met him, I don't think, but Seb Delaney was there, and we made eye contact in this hotel lobby and said hello to each other, because we just sort of knew who each other were. But it's like that. So I turned up to this SMMT day, and there's Tish from Auto Socials there. We got Abigail from She Talks Cars, JM on Cars, Sports and Touring. All these people some of which I've met in the past, and some that I've just sort of seen online. And it was just great.
You didn't. What you're trying to say is you didn't go up to them as if you'd never met them. It was like you got up to them like, oh yeah, and maybe afterwards you went, oh wait, that was actually the first time I ever met that person.
Yeah, it's just like, oh hey Joel, how's it going?
As if you never. You know,
It's really,
Seems like a week
but it was
before.
really, yeah. It's what I imagine it'd be like if you went to like a school reunion
Yeah.
now, and it's like, oh,
Well,
you know,
you wouldn't need to.
well, you pick
introduce
it up
yourself.
from where you,
Yeah, you wouldn't need to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
It was like even if it's 5 years gone, you just
Yeah.
pick it up from where you left off.
and
Yeah.
even just some of the manufacturers as well, like Cupra were there, and Holly at Cupra. It was nice to see her again. I went on a launch that she'd invited me to before, so it's like, oh hey, how are you? And same with Porsche. James at Porsche was there, and we had a great chat for a while just about flying and stuff. So that was really cool. But I did actually drive some cars.
Yes.
Um,
No, you sat in the back of a 7 Series.
oh, I did actually. Yeah. You know what? I saw the.
No one was probably looking at it, and then you were just sat in it for an
Well,
hour.
it was quite funny. Someone did.
Try and get in.
Someone did come in whilst I was just in
Yeah.
there. Because I saw I've seen the i7 a lot, and I've never really taken a second look. I just think it's a bit. It's electric, and it's a bit. Well, it's very ugly. Although I don't think that so much anymore. But I thought, okay, oh come on, now have a look, because it has that crazy plasma
Yeah.
screen thing that everyone talks about. So I went and had a look, and I honestly could not believe just the luxury. Like,
Yeah.
it's the only word to describe it. I mean, it was so comfortable. I've never sat in anything so soft. Like, the seat in the back was the softest thing I've ever sat in my life. And you have this control panel, which is sort of a small, like a very old iPhone sort of size, that you can control everything from. So you can bring down this plasma screen.
Yeah.
You can put the blinds up. You can change the colour of the lighting. You can hit one button, which I think is like lounge or relax or something.
It's a bit like
and it sends the front passenger seat forwards all the way.
Yeah.
A
So you
footrest
can
then comes down from that seat.
recline.
You go all the way back. It's honestly, it's like a first class
Yeah.
seat on a plane.
I've always thought that it's a bit like Rolls Royce, where you buy that car to not drive it yourself. It's a bit of a weird concept, isn't it? I always see, when I see people driving Rolls Royces, I think, as in they're driving it, it's their car and they're driving it. I'm thinking, I feel like a Rolls Royce is meant for a chauffeur to drive it, and you sit in the back, because you're probably, when you're driving it, you're not getting the full experience, are you?
Well,
if
you
you were
see-
driving that, you wouldn't be getting the full experience while I'm sat in the back. Do you see what
That's
I mean?
I completely agree with
Yeah.
you. I think with the Rolls Royce, I think some people like say they are really great drivers' cars as well.
Right.
But you're right. Yeah, mostly people will
Yeah.
buy them to be driven in. Certainly something like a Maybach. But it's funny you say that, because I was sat in this one that was on a stand that was static. I wasn't driving around this i7, and I actually, after I filmed a little bit of content in there, I genuinely sat in the back of it for about 20 minutes just doing some emails, which was really funny. But when I got out, one of the BMW girls said, "Oh, there's one that we're running up the course today. Do you want to drive it?" And I was like, no, I don't. I'm not.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in
No.
driving it at all. I just was so taken back and
Yeah.
fascinated by all of the stuff in the
Features,
back
yeah.
of it.
That's what.
So you're right. I wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't really interesting to me to drive. And
I don't think you could straight pipe that.
no, that's true. Actually, it's
It would just
definitely.
sound like wind.
I wonder if there will be an equivalent thing to straight piping an electric car.
You know, electric cars though, that they enhance the noise. They have a noise. They have a fake engine.
They make a
sound.
noise,
Yes.
yeah, but it comes out of speakers, doesn't it? Or,
Yeah, but no, but outside the car you can hear it.
yeah.
It's like a fake engine.
like the Porsche Taycan makes
Yeah.
a real noise when you hear
it's just
it.
weird though.
Is it? But is that
No, because
artificially? Is it artificially produced noise,
Yes.
or
No, it's not the actual noise of any battery.
It's
or
not the
anything.
batteries
No.
whining.
It's a natural art, because I think there has to be legally
pedestrians?
Yeah. Otherwise they won't hear it. So
But there's some cars that don't make, because I think maybe it's the older electric cars before.
Yes.
Like the earlier Tesla Model S's.
Nothing.
I was in town the other day and almost got ran down by one.
Is it? I think it's certain speeds.
Yeah, but it should be from 1
I don't
mile an
know.
hour, because that's when they're going to be most likely to hit someone like in a car
Yeah.
park or something. Yeah, but in terms of SMMT, not that you asked, but I drove an Alpine A110S,
Yeah.
which was really cool, because I went to this Alpine event a few weeks back and got to sit in one actually, and I thought, gosh, this is a proper piece of kit.
So it's nice to be able to drive it.
Yeah, and I got to drive that up the Alpine route at Millbrook Proving Ground, which was it's the same place they
Bank.
filmed Casino Royale,
Yeah.
where he has a crash in the DBS. I think it's that bit of
Yeah.
road. So that was wicked, because I just sort of did 3 laps of this Alpine course. The top speed was 55 miles an hour on it, but
On what?
on this Alpine course you could only go 55
For safety.
for safety.
Right.
But it was very sort of up,
Yeah,
that
yeah, so
really
you got a real
steep,
feel of
real
the
hairpins,
feel
and I was
of it,
doing
yeah.
55 the entire time, even on the hairpins, because that thing you can literally just throw into any court. It's like a lightweight Cayman. It's amazing. And then I drove the on the other end of the spectrum. I drove the Maserati Grecale, which is the new. It's not. I don't know if it's a Levante replacement. I think it's like
SUV.
a smaller version of the Levante. It's like the Porsche Macan.
Yeah.
You know, that sort
like
of thing.
A mini thing, yeah.
But I drove the Trofeo version, which has 530 horsepower or something.
Cool.
And that I got to drive on the high-speed Bowl,
Right.
which I've seen on Top Gear. I think
Just do laps.
Yeah. You could only go 100 on there actually, but that was great.
Still got a feel for that.
Yeah.
If it was on a motorway, I know a motorway is not banked, but it would.
And it was just this empty, like honestly, it was so surreal. And then Porsche Cayenne, the old one, the one that I really like.
It's weird they have old cars there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
they
only
have a right
Porsche did it.
spectrum of, you would think they would only have the new models.
I think it worked for Porsche because that they were out all day. Those older ones. Right. I mean, I actually missed out on the chance to drive the older 911 they had.
That's more your thing, actually.
The G series.
That's what your channel is at them.
Well, yeah, that's why I had to go in the Cayenne. Even though I'd driven one before, but this was like one that they had only had 14,000 miles on it, and they use it as like a trainer. And actually, it's going to Jeremy Clarkson in the summer. He said,
"What's he doing with it?"
Well, he just asked if he can have it on the farm for a week, so it may appear in a future Clarkson's Farm series. I guess they're probably filming that this summer, so who knows? But yeah, it was a really cool day, and actually, as a result of that, I'm going up to a day in Harrogate in a couple of weeks. It's like a Maserati drive day, so I'll get a chance to drive the MC20, which I can't wait because that's like Evo car of the year, proper supercar, 296 rival. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like today I've just
busy.
I feel like I've just been sort of bragging a little bit. It would be cool to get you on.
Yeah, but this is what I think. I see it a lot that sometimes you do go to events, and obviously you don't release videos, so I see a lot from behind the scenes as well of your YouTube and actually what goes into it, and in terms of people you meet and people that people watching might not know that you actually do come into contact with all these people, and you do know people like Shmi, you do know all these people. So, but
it is. I mean, I've heard other car YouTube people say it, and it's true that what I said to you earlier is that we sort of all have a mutual respect for each other because we all do the same thing. Some of us have got bigger channels than others, but it's the same principle, just on a smaller or bigger scale.
You're all trying to achieve the same thing.
We're all more or less, we're all trying to achieve success. I suppose we just go about it in different ways. Yeah. If it's Shmi, it's buying new cars, and if it's Matt Armstrong, it's buying a word I can't say cars, and then repairing them. I'm probably I'm probably closer to Matt Armstrong in terms of buying the new supercars than I am with Shmi. But we all have a different approach, and I love what Sam Seen Through Glass is doing at the moment. He's just like absolutely smashing it in terms of video production, because you'll learn this more probably if we carry on doing this podcasting thing together, in that there seems to be this weird correlation between if you put more effort into a video and its production value, it does worse.
Yes.
So if if I buy a drone, I'm going up to Scotland next week in a new Range Rover, and my plan is to make a really beautiful film about Glencoe and taking a Range Rover up there. But me buying a drone and doing that, and really spending a whole day just on shots of the car driving past will not get me any more views.
You said you filmed stuff, some of the most successful stuff you've just filmed on your phone sometimes.
Absolutely, and that gets the most views. It gets the best watch time, which makes the most money.
Feels more raw and natural, I guess.
Maybe, I mean, that's a whole other thing to sort of discuss the psychology of why that is. I think it's easier to watch when something's very simple. But I was just thinking, Sam Seen Through Glass, despite that, he is ignoring it and just carrying on to make really well-produced, interesting content, which I appreciate. And obviously lots and lots of his viewers do. But it's tough when it would be a lot easier to just go and film something on your phone. So fair play to Sam. But we're all doing the same thing in one way or another. So it's nice to go to these events. I've actually been really enjoying it. Because you know what I'm like? I'm a bit of I don't like people really.
You're not
I quite like having this chat with you.
But you have to be kind of pushed sometimes to...
I think I am an introvert.
I wouldn't. No, when I get it sometimes. Sometimes it's probably like the thought. As soon as every time someone says like, "Should we go and do this?" and you're like, you'll find a reason in your head to like, it's 2 hours away. I don't know. Sometimes the Alpine event, you would be like, I've got so many things I need to do that day. Like, can I fit it in? And then you go, and then you realise actually, once you're there, it's completely different story every time.
But that's exactly. I mean, even with this N24 trip the day before, I was like thinking of any excuse I could make to just like say to Audi, I just can't.
Yeah.
But that's just like, I just like to avoid social situations. And then once you're actually in them, you think, this is great. I can't believe I was thinking I was going to try and skip this one. It's very strange. Yeah, that's definitely what I'm like. I don't know if that makes me an introvert or if I'm just a wannabe introvert. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I'm definitely happiest at home with my wife and my cat. That's my happy place.
You're a 50-year-old man.
I am a bit, yeah. I am, especially when you see the sort of cars that I'm planning on buying. But
the car you've got now.
Well,
the
what's
Jaguar.
That? Oh, that. Oh gosh, yeah. Well, that's right.
You don't see many 20-year-olds.
I don't think you see any. I don't think you see any 26-year-olds driving one of those. No. Anyway, I guess we should probably wrap it up. I'm sorry, I've just talked sort of for you today and at you.
I'll leave the next one and I'll talk at you instead.
Maybe you could, maybe you could do one where you sort of interview me.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
I can ask, maybe people can send in questions, but also I can come up with questions that maybe they might want to know about you. That
I reckon there might be quite a few people that want to know stuff about you, because everyone knows who I am.
Yeah.
No one really knows who you are, Charlie.
I've just appeared.
You're just this random dude. Yeah, well, maybe we could put together some sort of question answer episode.
I would say neither of us live normal lives.
No, you're very unique in the way that you're sort of always on the road, and well, I am, but in a different way. There could be some interest there. I think it's tricky to it's quite tricky to engage with the viewers on this, because we film quite long episodes, not that many, and there's only so many comments. But I've been seeing lots of people listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So I really appreciate that.
So that we can't leave a comment on Spotify.
I don't think you can. No. So we will get better at maybe setting up a proper Instagram account or something like that, and
where people can fire things in, and
and
maybe we can do it before you put this out.
Maybe we'll see. Yeah. But if you are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, thank you very much. Would you be able to leave I think you can leave a 5-star review. You can follow us on Spotify, definitely, but if you could leave a 5-star review, we would really appreciate.
You can like stuff on Spotify.
Can you?
You can like songs, so you must be able to like a podcast.
Maybe, but I don't know if that helps us.
I feel like it's some algorithm. It might.
It might. Yeah, you're right. So any sort of liking, rating, sharing you can do, we'd really appreciate that.
Sure.
We really want to grow this podcast. And if you're here on YouTube, thank you again. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying these podcasts. Please, as Charlie said, send in any questions you want us to answer. We'd love to
make them interesting ones that Joel.
This is a different avenue where we can go into depth on topics that. But that's why I started this. Is because the first episode we did was on lane hogging and how drivers are bad.
Exactly.
I can only make one real. I can only really make one 20-minute video on lane hogging on my YouTube channel. But here we can talk about it for hours, and people will listen, because I know lots of people find it equally frustrating. So yes, it's the same in terms of asking questions or anything like that. This is a much
more casual environment.
Yeah, we've got more time to talk about it. So anyway, if you are watching on YouTube, thank you. Make sure to like and subscribe, and tell all your friends. And what's that? Write a comment.
I don't know.
What's that?
I think when you subscribe, you get a tick, don't you, next to the subscribe?
Is that what that hand movement was?
Yeah.
That looked like the old swipe up from Instagram. They don't do that anymore, do they?
No.
Oh, that's a whole other story. I finally got to 10,000 followers on Instagram, which meant I could do swipe up. No, this was like a couple of years ago.
You can buy a blue tick now. So we keep trying to end this.
I know, it's ridiculous. I'm going to buy one.
Tick. You're like, why?
I don't know.
Should we buy one for this podcast?
At the moment, having a blue tick will give you a bit more credibility, and people are more likely to take you seriously. However, I think very quickly, if everyone's going to buy them, that it will just become redundant. My 10,000 followers story, you could on your stories, you could add a link and do a swipe up thing, which meant people could go straight from Instagram to your link, like your YouTube video, for example. And you could only get that when you got to 10,000 followers. And I finally, after 2 or 3 years on Instagram, got to 10,000 followers, and then they just gave it to everyone. So anyone with any Tom, Dick and Harry,
waiting. Yeah.
Honestly. Anyway, that sums up my luck sometimes, but otherwise I'm very lucky. I've been doing some really cool stuff, and thanks, Charlie, for letting me shout your ears off about it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Do let us know. Please comment on YouTube and send us a message on my Instagram or Charlie's Instagram, which is also in the description. Thank you all. Thank you, Charlie, and we'll see you hopefully not too long away in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.